Our dharma talks about love and peace and compassion and kindness and generosity. But Bhagwan Krishna plays a very key role in the war of the Mahabharata. Bhagwan Ram fought and won a war. How do we reconcile those? So, love, compassion, caring, these are virtues. This is dharma. Non-violence, this is dharma. And then we have these stories from the epics, from the scriptures of great wars. How do we reconcile it? Well, the only way to reconcile it is to understand it in a much broader context. It's to understand it in a context in which we're choosing righteousness over unrighteousness, choosing dharma over adharma. It's a best case of a bad case scenario choice. Let me give you an example closer to home. Has anybody here ever taken antibiotics? Yeah? Okay. So what do antibiotics do? They cure us. Well, but how do they cure us? I'm sorry? They treat us faster than doing nothing, yes, but how? They kill the bacteria. Yes, exactly. Antibiotics kill bacteria. If you've got a bacterial infection, you've got pneumonia in your lungs, well, what is pneumonia? It's a type of bacteria. And it's growing and growing and growing and growing in your lungs. They multiply and divide like crazy. Soon you can't breathe. Then you're on a ventilator. So even those of us who are hardcore naturalists, there comes a time where you say, okay, fine, my life is at stake. Very few people are such hardcore naturalists or such hardcore non-violent people that they would refuse to take an antibiotic to kill pneumonia and instead would let the pneumonia kill themselves. Most of us understand that my life is of more value. And yeah, we're making a value judgment. But it's a judgment that most of us share, that my life is of more value than the lives of the bacteria. They're also alive. But my life is of more value than theirs, so I'm going to take an antibiotic and kill them so that I can live. Even those of us who are very, very, very strict vegetarians, one of the things that comes up so frequently is usually young kids will say to me, well, so if you were stranded in the jungle, you were lost in the forest, you had nothing to eat, there were no berries anywhere, you were going to die of starvation, would you eat an animal then? And I always say, yeah, I hope I could. I mean, I obviously hope I'm never in that situation. I couldn't guarantee that I could actually muster what it takes to kill an animal and eat it, but I would hope that I could. And I certainly would have no moral problem with it. Because even though I am a very staunch, very hardcore vegetarian, I also am able to make a value judgment that says, in my view, my life is of more value than the life of the squirrel or the chipmunk or whatever it would be that I would find and kill to survive until I was rescued. But that is only the case if I am going to commit my life to good work. That's not an absolute truth. I do not believe that in an absolute sense, a human life is of more value than an animal life. But if we are committing ourselves to dharma, to good work, then yeah, I could morally justify killing a small animal to save me so that I could be rescued and go out and do good work. And this brings us to the issues of the Mahabharat War, the War of the Ramayana. Nobody wanted to kill Duryodhana and his army. They did everything they could to prevent the war. The whole story of the Mahabharata is full, not just of the war. It's full of all of that which led up to the war. And I won't go into it tonight, but just all of the times that they tried. Even Krishna himself tried to prevent this war. Just like the naturalists amongst us take everything we can, we eat as much lemon and honey and ginger and all, hot beverages and tulsi and all this stuff that we take to fight off those bacteria. We don't go to antibiotics as our first stop. It's only when it doesn't work. And this is what happened. Same thing in the Ramayana. Lord Ram didn't wake up in the morning and say, there's this Ravan, and I've heard of him, and I'm gonna commit myself to killing him. Even after his wife was abducted, he sends Hanumanji as an emissary. Only when nothing works do they go to war. And these are wars of dharma against adharma, of righteousness against unrighteousness. And what they knew in both cases was, if they don't fight this war, if the quote-unquote bad guys of both of these stories are not vanquished, they're going to keep killing more people. Like if I don't take the antibiotic, the bacteria is just going to keep growing and growing and growing and eventually take my life. And that's what was happening in both cases. And so they didn't fight the war because violence is a good thing. They didn't fight the war because they forgot that compassion and love and nonviolence are our dharma. They fought the war to restore dharma, where adharma, where unrighteousness had taken over. And tragically, sometimes people have to be killed. Another close to home example would be, you think about it, if you were walking down the street with your mother, with anyone, or even just alone, and suddenly somebody comes and starts attempting to kidnap or to kill or to rape your mom who you're walking with, or just a woman on the road, a young girl on the road. Well, very few of us would keep on walking. We might all start by saying, hey, stop. We might call the police. But if things escalated and our hey, stop didn't work and the police still didn't show up and the violence was getting worse, or he was on the verge of getting her into his car, we might reach down if we had an umbrella in our hands or a cane in our hand and hit him. And if a light hit didn't work, we might hit him harder. Not because we're violent people, not because we forget that love and compassion are virtues, but because in that moment we are acutely aware of the fact of there being a higher good in this. Of violence being absolutely required as a last resort to to restore dharma, to restore righteousness. Very few of us are prepared to sacrifice our mother, or a woman on the street, or a young girl on the street, into the hands of a rapist or a murderer or a kidnapper just because we don't believe in violence. Most of us would muster up whatever it took to use our strength to get this guy to stop. And that's what happened in the war of the Mahabharata and the war of the Ramayana.